Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would discuss a catchphrase that I coined quite a few years ago, and that term was strength is forged in the fires of volume. Okay, and let me explain what I mean, because when I say that, people are like, well, what do you mean? We get strong by lifting heavy. We develop our full potential by lifting heavy, right? We develop our full potential by lifting heavy. And what do we mean by our potential? Intramuscular, extramuscular coordination, the skill of maxing out, the skill of lifting really heavy, right? That's all about coordinating muscles, right? It's about turning on all these motor units in our different muscles at the same time and coordinating them, right? Like look at a 500-pound squat there. Old dude like me with a gray beard, raw dogging it with just a belt, that's a reasonable feat of strength. Right, that requires a large amount of coordination to coordinate that. Average person obviously can't do that. Okay, the average person can't do that. But when we talk about our strength potential, that really comes from our muscle mass. It comes from our muscle mass. And no, when people say, but there's this one tiny guy and he's super strong, and it's like, oftentimes they're not as strong as you think they are, and they've got leverages to their advantage. There's some certain genetic things going on, or again, they're comparing to a bodybuilder who's not actually trying to lift heavy. And I mean, I'll give you the example, like people love to use that Anatoly guy, except that he's not that strong. I am way, 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 way stronger than that kid. People say, what do you mean? He's no. In official competition, the guy's never even deadlifted 500 pounds. He's like a 480 deadlift. I can do like 10, 11, 12 reps with that. Hey, come on. So he does a lot of trick lifts to where he uses sumo with bumper plates and straps and a whippy bar to hit 600, but he can't deadlift 600. Like, but what about all those big guys? That's all staged. All those big guys, there's no way those guys are struggling with 400-pound deadlifts and stuff. Sorry, that's just not realistic. Okay, so those are staged things, guys. That's the difference between cinema and entertainment versus the real world. Promise you there's no big jacked 250-pound bodybuilder who is not going to go over and really try to be outlifted by that guy. It's just not going to happen. They're going to destroy him with pretty much any lift. That's reality. But again, that doesn't make for a good trickery and jokes. He runs a joke channel, right? That's what he does. Does it for fun. It's entertainment. So we have to set that entertainment aside. All right. So when we're talking about forging the fires of volume, we mean our hypertrophy work. And I'm not saying endless junk volume. I'm one of those people who says there isn't open-ended volume. Like you can only grow from the volume that you can recover from, right? We grow from the volume that we can recover from. So, but we absolutely do need training volume in order to gain strength. All right, and the same thing, we talk about really gaining strength in the long term. Not talking about short-term strength where you don't build the support musculature, the tendons, and then you end up breaking. So what if we do want to play the long game? You're like, man, I want to just keep getting stronger year after year after year after year. Okay, you're going to have to rely more and more on training volume to do that. Sorry, lifters my age who still squat 500 pounds, I promise you they're not getting there by doing a few triples. Okay, we're all getting there by doing the minimum amount of squats we need to get our strength up and recover from it, and then not loading ourselves into the ground, and then doing a bunch of machine work. So even me, guys, how do I train my legs? It's 90% machines or 10 plus reps. It's like in the 10 to 20 rep range. Now, I'm not saying I do endless amounts of sets. They're real hard sets. I maybe don't do more than 6 to 12 sets in a workout. But you guys get the idea. Same thing with the deadlifting. How do we build the deadlift? A bunch of reverse hypers, glute ham raises, all for high reps, maybe some good mornings, rows, pull-ups, that stuff. Not saying I don't do, sometimes up to 3 sets of deadlifts in a week, but even then, how many of those are heavy? 1 set, sometimes it's 3. Usually if I do 3, a lot of times, though, it's back down work. We might just rep 500 pounds. Okay, we don't try to come in and go crazy heavy. So again, the idea, training volume. We have to build muscle. Muscle hypertrophy will always raise your strength ceiling. Okay, so how do we get there? Again, volume. So strength is forged in the fires of volume. And you have to remember that. Muscle mass is always a long-term investment in your strength. It absolutely is a long-term investment. Yes, neural drive can cause you to go up relatively quick bursts, right? Sometimes we can do some really heavy training in a bit, work on our technique, our skill, and we'll get a little burst in strength, right? We'll hit a PR. But it's not sustainable because you can't just always keep increasing neural drive and coordination. You're going to limit on it. And I'm definitely going to say people who do max effort work every week, like conjugate type system max effort, that stuff gets maxed out relatively quick. And at a certain point, you're mainly just sustaining it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to sustain it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to sustain it, but it is at a certain point, it's maintenance of those skills. It's maintenance of those skills. They're not necessarily improving significantly. So then what are you back to? We're back to gaining muscle month after month, year after year after year. And again, we come over to, you can't just come in and do endless heavy sets. Like guys are like, I'm going to do 8 sets of heavy squats every week. Well, okay. Then they're going to split it up 5 heavy sets twice a week, Okay, fine. Let me know how that goes in about 10, 12 years. All right? It's kind of like I heard when learned some other coaches once say in a round chat. They're like, if you want to get really strong, squat heavy once a week for a decade. Do it for 10 years. You'll get really strong. Now, people hear that and go, I don't like that. 10 years, plus why is it the once a week? Because you're probably not going to break yourself doing it once a week. You're not going to have overuse injuries, and you're going to figure other stuff out. And if you just keep getting bigger for those 10 years, let's say you're like, well, I'm only squatting once a week, I'm going to do some other stuff. Heavy squatting once a week, what am I doing the rest of the time? Well, you probably do a bunch of volume and hypertrophy work. You can squat, bench, and deadlift heavy once a week. That's all I do. That's all I do anymore. And I don't ever go over 3 sets of any of them. It's 1 to 3 sets. Well, then you got to do some other stuff. Like, man, I'm going to come and do some incline work. I'm going to do some triceps. I'm going to do some front raises and laterals and hamstring work and some exactly. And then you just get bigger. And then you maintain that heavy work once a week. Yeah, you'll get really, really strong. But where's the real strength base coming from? It's coming from all the accessory work, all the assistance work, all the bodybuilding work. Okay? All the bodybuilding work. So I make that statement again. Strength is forged in the fires of volume.